The show starts with an epic battle scene, where several soldiers fear the Corpse God. Corpse God, a necromancer, uses dead souls to accumulate his powers and perform sorcery. The deadly necromancer attacks the soldiers, slicing them in half until the legendary hero arrives. Shagrua Adith Lugrid, the Calamity Crusher, arrives with his subjugation to defeat the Corpse God. The skeleton form villain fights the protagonist, using his magic projections to hurl deadly attacks, such as dragon monsters and skeleton army, towards him. While all the fellow accomplices of Shagrua feared his death, he remains steady and uses his precise sword skills and magical powers to maintain a good fight with the necromancer. During the fight, Shagrua reminisces about his past, having the ability to see dead souls since birth. He recalls how the soldiers took him in childhood, and he has since become a strong knight, fighting many evils. Shagrua comes back to the present and fights the necromancer using the help of sorcery. He then reveals to the Corpse God of sharing the same Eye of the Evil, that makes them both able to see dead souls and hear the wails of the souls of the ones they have killed. However, the necromancer chooses to toy with the souls of the ghosts he sees and use them for evil. Shagrua identifies the center of the skeleton necromancer, a brain capsuled under a glass box, and tries to attack it. The Corpse God casts a huge spell around him, unknown to Shagrua. Shagrua jumps into attack, using a counterspell with the help of his fellow female accomplice. A huge explosion happens as the two spells collide, Shagrua's magic overpowering and penetrating through the necromancer's spell. When the dust settles, the necromancer's skeleton collapses. The necromancer opens his eyes to a different world, reincarnated in the body of a 16-year-old boy. The Corpse God tries to adjust to the new body and form and decode what happened. He wakes up in an alley in Shinjuku City, confused about modern architecture and technological advancements. The body Corpse God resurrected into is killed by some assassin, having the throat slit and neck all covered in blood. Meanwhile, a stranger detects the boy's body coming out of the alley through cameras. He informs the assassins to kill the boy again, making sure he doesn't wake up this time. The Corpse God walks around the city with a slit throat and a blooded shirt. He sees a screen and thinks of it as a projection spell. He then notices the people around him and assumes that life in this new world is peaceful. Suddenly, he is interrupted by two police officers. At first, he fails to understand their language, but he quickly adapts the memory and information stored in the body of the boy he resurrected into. He automatically starts understanding the language of the corpse and involuntarily introduces him as Polka Shinoyama. While he is talking to the police, a girl interrupts him and grabs his arm, stealing him away. The girl takes Polka into an alley and introduces herself as Misaki Sakamiya. The Corpse God tries to recall the girl's face from the stored memory of his new body, but fails to do so. That is until she takes her weapon and reveals she is here to kill him. He finally remembers Misaki, the same assassin girl who slit the throat of Polka's body. A stranger looking at this whole scene through a drone camera encourages Misaki to complete the task as they have been tipped for killing the 16-year-old boy. The corpse, now known as Polka, runs away from Misaki and hides in an abandoned building. He tries to find dead souls in the new world to channel his powers, but he hardly finds them. Misaki, on the other hand, is well equipped with weapons and skills as she easily hunts Polka down. Misaki attacks Polka with knives. To her surprise, Polka showcases good dodging skills. Polka escapes again and ends up in an abandoned torture room. Misaki follows him there and reveals that the place is isolated as it is rumored to be captured by ghosts. While Misaki brags about her genius of bringing Polka to a place that people fear entering, he smirks in victory, being able to sense the ghost dead souls. The Corpse God channels all the energy of the dead souls and uses powerful magic to attack Misaki. He kills her on the spot and looks forward to living his new life. Back in the other world, everyone celebrates Shagrua's victory. Shagrua seems unsatisfied as he recalls that the spell that the Necromancer last cast before his attack seemed to be a transportation spell. He suspects that the villain is still not dead, but shoves the thought away. The Corpse God recalls being born with the evil eye that snatched away his peace from him. He always saw dead souls and had a terrible past. His parents sold him away to evil sorcerers, and he grew up to become a necromancer. The Corpse God always wished to live peacefully, away from his life as an evil necromancer. He made new friends in the past, despite having a skeleton face, and fell in love with a girl in his friend's group. However, his fellow necromancers sacrificed the life of the girl he loved. Since that day, the corpse god had turned to vengeance and become evil. He made a labyrinth filled with all the corpses he had killed. He then learned more about sorcery and dark magic, and spent centuries waiting for someone to kill him so he could be resurrected into a more peaceful life. His wish was fulfilled when Shegurua came and finally killed him on the battlefield. Polka, the corpse god, sees Misaki's body lying before him, scared that he might have accidentally killed her in one stab. Polka fears that the murder might get him on the run, and he will fail to have a peaceful life. While all this happens, the same stranger witnesses the whole scene through the camera of his drone that was following the two everywhere. He then calls his superior, Clarissa, and updates her on the situation. On the other hand, Misaki also has a flashback, reminiscing about her happy childhood with her parents. That is, until her parents were brutally stabbed right before her naked eyes. Since then, Misaki has become a ruthless assassin, killing other hitmen and evil people. She avenges her parents' death, killing the man who murdered them. Misaki was working under Clarissa's team, a group of expert hitmen and assassins who kill people for work. Misaki then remembers Clarissa giving her a task to kill a normal 16-year-old boy Polka, instead of any evil person. Misaki had agreed and slit Polka's throat, which had gone unsuccessful. The stalker stranger, known as Takumi, who was her helper on the same team, was guiding her through the camera. Flashback ends. Misaki opens her eyes and thinks of her as dead. To her surprise, she sees herself alive after remembering being stabbed. She sees Polka sitting beside her, revealing that she has been resurrected. The scene rewinds 40 minutes before Misaki's rebirth. The stranger introduces himself to the camera as Takumi Karuya. He talks about his business as an info broker, an all-rounder stalker, and hacker who helps assassinate killers and hell hitmen hide bodies with the help of his camera drone. Clarissa arrives at the abandoned place with her guards. She sees Polka doing some magic on Misaki. Upon asking, Polka reveals that he is using a healing spell to wake her up and plans to cast a resurrection spell on her. The whole magic talk confuses Clarissa and her team, who don't believe in any such thing. They start doubting Polka for feeding them with lies and attempting to fool them. But Polka uses his soul magic to create a strong, powerful attacking mechanism on the team. The scene is interrupted by sirens. Takumi informs Clarissa that the Shakuzuo building has caught fire in the neighborhood. Clarissa fears that the kids in the building might be in danger. Polka asks her out of curiosity about the sirens and the situation. Clarissa reveals that the Shakuzuo building had a nursery that looked after orphans and kids of working women. Polka remembers his old friends, who were also young kids, and asks Clarissa to take him to the location of the building. He intends not to see any children going through such pain and trauma. Clarissa agrees and takes him to the building. Polka uses his magical powers to jump over the buildings and penetrate through the one that had caught fire. He jumps in to save the children. Polka sees the dead souls of the parents of the children and uses their help to save them. He jumps in and out of the fire easily, surprising everyone. However, people notice some skeleton bodies in the fire, which were of the dead souls summoned by Polka. Takumi witnesses the whole scene from his drone and wonders what Polka is to be able to perform such magical acts. He warns Clarissa to be careful around Polka, a possible monster. Clarissa confronts Polka, who tells her he is searching for peace. Clarissa suggests he earn money to get peace. Polka tells her about his identity as a necromancer and reveals that he needs to learn more magic and use souls for a peaceful life. Clarissa introduces herself to him as Lisa Kureki and offers him to join their group. Once Misaki regains consciousness, she reads the news from the day before. She becomes overjoyed upon discovering that mysterious ghostly shapes were captured on video during the fire at the building where Polka rescued the orphans. Polka, Misaki, and Takumi move into one place together, owned by Clarissa. Takumi wonders if Misaki feels comfortable spending time with the person who caused her death. Interestingly, Misaki finds the current situation very thrilling, which is not surprising given her troubled past as a mentally disturbed serial killer who was on the brink of suicide before being killed and subsequently revived by the corpse god. While Polka continues to make sense of his world, he reads a lot to gain more knowledge. He tells Takumi that he hunted the real Polka's family and made them believe that he is not dead, but instead is on a summer trip. He further talks about his past life, revealing his true form and the horrors of the other world. In his talk with Takumi, he also shares his plan to find out who was behind his assassination, aiming to secure a peaceful life. Polka also adds that he can converse with the real ghost of Polka, which is captured in Takumi's drone. The only person who had contact with the culprit is Clarissa, but she refuses to disclose the identity of the contractor. Polka is willing to investigate the situation by himself and sees pressuring Clarissa to reveal the truth as a last option. He opens up to Takumi about his past life, being completely honest. However, he is eager to discover how to utilize his abilities to make money. Fortunately, a man seeks Misaki's assistance in evading hitmen. The corpse god promptly accepts the task, and they head to the designated place later that day to carry out their mission. Unfortunately, the group is trapped as some gang members unexpectedly ambush Misaki. She gets killed again by one of the assailants while she is engaged in a fight with other gang members. However, she resurrects into her body. Polka then explains that Misaki has become a zombie, meaning she cannot be killed. Together, they battle against each gang member, defeating them individually. Eventually, the corpse god turns into his enormous skeleton form to crush all the enemies, forming a massive mud ball. Two detectives, Tsubaki and Kuzabaru, who specialize in supernatural cases, are introduced. Meanwhile, Polka informs Misaki that her bites now possess a paralyzing effect. Naturally, she eagerly decides to use it and bites Polka's shoulder, causing him to collapse. When the paralyzing effect finally disappears, Polka wakes up and has random conversations with Takumi. They briefly think about the chance that the world where the corpse god originally came from and the current world he is in might be connected somehow. At the same time, Misaki remains thrilled about finding useful ways to utilize the paralyzing effect of her bites. Polka thinks that Misaki now uses her paralysis ability more frequently. Takumi reminds him about the gang members he just fought and killed. However, to Takumi's surprise, Polka reveals that he didn't kill them, but only made them unable to move. Polka's commitment to not taking lives leaves Takumi astonished. Polka also mentions that the gang members won't be able to harm anyone in the future. In another place, Tsubaki and Kuzabiru are called by the police to investigate the crime scene due to the clear occult evidence present. The police department holds a meeting to investigate recent crimes and miraculous activities. They find the footprints of the most wanted dreadful criminal, Lemmings, at a crime site. They thoroughly discuss the events of the Shakuzawa building fire and draw the suspects, including the possible inclusion of the ghosts caught on camera. As Tsubaki addresses the meeting, he reassures everyone that there is no involvement of anything supernatural, but it is all done by humans, which makes them easy to be defeated. Polka transfers the soul of real Polka into a stuffed toy and encloses it with his new roommates. He needs to create vocal cords for the stuffed animal to speak and for real Polka to communicate well with them. He adds that he needs excessive energy to generate mana, needing more dead souls and exorcism to create magic. Takumi says there is no such place with many souls, but Polka answers that gemstones, such as sapphire, worked as mana stones in the other world. Polka wishes to collect all these gemstones by channeling his magic, but his dreams are shattered when Misaki takes him to a jewelry shop and shows him how expensive the stones are. Polka is stunned to learn the price of the stones. He decides to work and earn more money to buy the gemstones. On the way back from the jewelry shop, Misaki and Polka encounter Kuzabaru, who captures the drone revolving over them. He is after the criminal Takumi. On the other hand, Tsubaki visits Clarissa at her bar and confronts her about his team finding the drone of her gang member. He asks her to surrender and accept her crime involvement and partnership with the info broker Takumi Kuruyo. Polka tries to talk to save Takumi by asking the officer to let go of the drone, but Kuzabiru refuses and instead warns Polka to stay out of trouble, being a young kid and befriending the wrong people. Polka gets furious at Kuzabiru for questioning his friend and deeming him negative. Polka channels his energy to push the officer away. Takumi talks to Misaki and Polka through earpieces and warns them of Kuzabaru's renowned powerful fighting skills. He asks the two to avoid talking to the officer. Before Kuzabaru can interrogate Polka more and find out his secret, Takumi calls the officer to distract him from the interrogation. However, Kuzabaru is clever in deducing the apparent distraction. Amidst the distraction, Misaki attacks Kuzabaru and escapes with Polka. Later, Takumi calls Polka and thanks him for standing up for him to the cop. The two share a moment of bonding. At the police station, the officers discuss the case of Lemmings, a legendary monster who was undefeatable and was involved in the worst crimes. Tsubaki drinks at Clarissa's bar and refuses to leave without having her confess. He asks Clarissa to admit that a suspected Grim Reaper is working with her and that she is involved with criminals. Clarissa acts clueless and chooses not to answer. She worries about Polka being detected by the cops. The worry heightens when Polka and Misaki enter Clarissa's bar to meet her. Takumi sees Kuzabiru proceeding toward Clarissa's bar through the cameras. He quickly informs Polka through the device to escape the building before Kuzabiru sees him. Unfortunately, Kuzabiru sees the kids there and tries to confront them. Both the officers gang up on Polka and Misaki while interrogating them. Just as Polka and Misaki decide to escape, suddenly the lights go off. But before they could escape, a man jumps in, surprising everyone with his unexpected entry.